This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's podcast series, Unlocking Mysteries of the Universe. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be on the spaceship we call Earth. If you're new to the ship or the fleet, please click subscribe, like, share, and comment. You can listen to this series now on Libsyn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcast, and soon Apple Podcast, or a starbase near you. So tonight, joining us from Northern Colorado, Sarah Janik. I hope I pronounced that name right. Did I?
Yes.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay. Cool. That's good. Psychic medium. As a young girl, wanted to be a nurse for healthcare or in the healthcare and care for people. For a long time, as she can remember, she's had countless experiences with spirit, sensing their presence through her psychic and empathic abilities, being able to sense the emotions of spirit. As she got older, spirits presented themselves more prevalently, as now she can see, hear, and feel them as they visit. Now that she's been working in the healthcare, she's been able to pick up on others' health-related issues, and that's the living, that is. Tonight, we explore more into her experiences and her work as a medium. Let's welcome Sarah Janik. How you doing, Sarah?
Hi, really good. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. So, just to let everybody know, this is about the third time that we've tried to have her on the air with us and record the show via video, but there's a link. There's something in the way. There's a blockage. So we're doing this by phone, and we'll just like friends tell me, nobody ever dies from a bad show. So let me well, unfortunately I don't have my notes, but I can remember some of them. So how did this all start for you, Sarah?
So I just, as long as I can remember, as a child, I remember waking up and, actually the majority of, I think all of my houses, and could like sense spirit standing by my bedside. And then it just kind of progressed, would hear my name called out of nowhere. I remember after I had my first son, I could actually see someone walk in the room and kind of look over into his crib at him, and just continued having all of these experiences and kind of chalked it up to like just my house is being haunted.
Yeah.
And then one day it just kind of dawned on me, like I was just having a series of dreams of having family and friends that had passed away, like visiting me and almost kind of prompting me in a way to do like readings within my dreams.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of, it dawned on me as like, I think it's me. Like, I think it's just that I'm attracting all of this, I don't think it's maybe my houses. And just got with a local medium who kind of helped me understand what was happening, and just kind of started putting everything together and started doing readings for people. So,
and I bet you did it start with like doing reading for family members and immediate friends?
actually, no, that, because I was just talking to you about this prior, but I read much less for like people that I know than strangers. I'm not sure why. I've never really had too much interest from like friends or direct family like asking me for readings. Like every now and then I'll pass something on if I, sent somebody around or have a message to relay, but the large majority is just through people that find me online. Or through people that I've read for already. So
yeah.
So a lot different than your story. For
sure.
sure.
I like as far as when I don't even know if I remember exactly what I think my first reading was a stranger, because it was only during like a psychic fair.
Okay.
And actually no, that begs the question too, is did you seek any, after realizing what's going on and knowing not really quite knowing what's going on, if as growing up, did you like seek, ask questions to everybody? It's like, tell people what you're experiencing, and then, see what other people's opinions were like, because nobody wants to hear that you're crazy.
Well, yeah. So actually, so two things. I want to talk to you for a second about reading for people that I know, and I think it could just be a me thing.
Yeah.
But one way I was getting validation is because I told you that I was a nurse, and so I would actually go. Well, actually, I would see the spirit or like get a visit from one of my patients here at home,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would go to work. And knowing that this person had passed away, I would be like, "Hey guys, good morning. Have you heard anything from so and so's family?" I'd say no. So I would call the family and say, "Hey, I just want to check in on so and so, see how they're doing." Really, kind of knowing that they had already passed away.
Yeah.
And then we get confirmation that way that like, okay, I did get a visit from them and they had passed on. So that kind of gave me a peace of mind and knowing that like it wasn't, because when you start seeing people from the other side, you're like, am I really seeing this? What's happening? Like you just question yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was able to get validation that way. But one thing that I kind of feel that I have always personally had is like, I worry that if I'm passing on information to somebody that I know, if it's for a family or friend, I wonder, like, am I pulling this from my own database of like what I know about this person? Where if I'm reading for a complete stranger, I can tell them everything that is coming forward because I know that I don't know anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
how do you do that? Like, how do you separate that when you have, say like a close friend's family member that they've kind of talked to you about, and do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. How to differentiate between the mind, preconceived notions and information that you may have already known based off of
Yeah.
historical experiences with that person, compared to information that comes in from spirit.
Yeah. So do you
Yeah.
just ask for like information that you don't like, hey, spirit, if you want me to pass this information on to the person that I know, do you ask them like, bring me something that I don't know? That way I can give them confirmation, or what do you do in that situation?
Yeah. Normally what I do is I'll meditate first, and then I'll get into, I'll let spirit know. I was like, please give me some information that that I don't know. Give me some really
Hmm.
evidential information, like show me a symbol, show me an item or something, or present me an item of some sort that there's probably no way, or a situation that happened
Hmm.
long before me being in the picture. Um,
Yeah, that's a
and
good idea.
and also too, when it comes to delivering the information, um, that can be the trickiest part, especially for developing mediums and stuff. That it happens to all of us. It happens to everybody out there. Is we do allow the mind to get in the way.
Hmm.
And when we're trying to deliver information, is as soon as we get it, as soon as we receive it as a medium, you have to deliver it immediately, because
Yes.
the sooner you deliver that message, the less time it takes for you to second guess
Hmm.
the information in that message. So time is
Yeah.
of the
No,
essence.
absolutely. I completely agree with that. It's almost like when you're in the middle of a reading, it's like you have to say what you're currently getting to like make room for the next thing to come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and the thing is too is that there's times it'll seem like I'm confused. So they'll look at me like, I'll look confused, like I'm trying to think of something, but it's not really me thinking. It's me just opening the channel up even more, opening the pipes up even more for the information. And then it's like, okay, waiting for the symbols, waiting for the information, the visuals or the feeling or the sound, whatever it is that's coming through. And as soon as I get it, it's like, oh, I'll share the symbol that I'm getting. Like, oh, I'm getting water. I'm getting footprints in the sand along not a beach at a like the ocean, but like a beach at a lake or something. And I'm seeing a boat, or I'm seeing very specific detailed information. Um, and then that'll stop, and then some more information will come in, like some about some
Hmm.
paperwork or something. So yeah, and the thing is too, it's like asking spirit. Spirit knows how we work. We just got to let them know what's the best way for us to receive this information.
Yeah,
Because everybody's
absolutely.
different. So I'll just, you know,
I remember that too, in the beginning, because after I started having this, I was like, I don't know that I completely feel comfortable just giving readings. So I joined, like we were talking about, like spiritualist churches. I joined some development groups and did that for a good year.
yeah,
And then I think I don't know, I set a goal of doing like 100 or something like that practice readings. That way I really felt comfortable before I would start,
yeah, yeah,
like turning it more into like the business side of things. But yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely an unfolding and like learning almost like a totally different language, really.
It is. It's a notice that mediumship. Now it's kind of different too. There's a lot of people out there that don't that they think that a psychic and a medium are the same thing.
Hmm.
I mean, you have psychic mediums, something in the same phrase,
Yeah.
which is sort of the same thing, but the difference between a medium and a psychic is the psychic is picking up the energy, all the energy impressions and stuff like
Of
that.
the
The
living. Yeah.
medium, on the other hand, is that direct conduit of communication
Hmm.
between this side and the other side.
Yeah.
Um, but every medium's a psychic,
Love it.
but not every psychic's a medium.
Agreed.
Yeah. Now every
Yeah.
psychic can be a medium. They just got to attune to it. They got to practice on it.
That's a big I don't know, like not a controversy. I do think most mediums believe that like everybody has the gift, but I feel too like everybody is really drawn to like what they're drawn for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's no different than like somebody really going to like sports practice to become like a professional football player or something. Like it takes time and commitment and development and
Yeah. Yeah. And some people it's natural. It
yeah.
could take months for one person and it could take years for another.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely have found that too. I have a group of friends that I met in a lot of my development classes, and I know a lot of those people are still taking development classes, but I almost think too it's like um they have to like start learning to trust themselves or like the information that they're getting a little bit more.
mhm.
And I feel like some people could be, you know, I don't know, maybe a little further ahead in their development or working more independently, but just it's like I said, it's like an unraveling, a learning, like learning to really trust everything that you're getting, and
Yeah. Yeah. Have you noticed
I
too
feel
that
comfortable passing it on.
that a lot of I'm guilty of it myself. I'm sure you
Hmm.
might be able to validate this that as a medium, no matter how much experience you have, you never give yourself enough credit.
Yes.
That we
Yeah.
lose we lose faith
Sometimes
that
you're
what we're
like,
about to deliver is not going to be what we need to deliver.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have definitely have that. Or, had a reading and it's been like, oh, okay, that was great. But then they're like, well, I wanted to hear more from this person. So then you're like, well, like it did have all these people coming through that we were like validating, but then it's like, I don't know. I have learned to like just trust that like what's supposed to come through in the reading is exactly what comes through.
Yeah.
And, tried to like learn to separate myself from, I don't know, any disappointments that might come up because
Yeah.
the far larger majority are much happier with the experience and information that you bring through. So I try to focus more on that if I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
So
now, do you use any other tools when you're doing readings? Like, do you use any like oracle cards or tarot cards just to give your, you know,
I
I
don't,
every now and then kind of use them just as a tool to
yeah,
help me tune
no, I
in.
don't know why. I know a lot of people kind of use that as like a building block, but almost I feel like it's kind of like I think there's a definite place for tarot and oracle. Like I've had my cards read and been like blown away at the stuff that's come through. But sometimes I think people rely on tools that they don't really need. Like I think we are truly everything that we need already.
Yeah.
Like it's already within you. We're a spirit and human and we already have that connection so naturally.
Yeah. That's similar to when I started in paranormal investigation. Is a lot of paranormal investigative crews will bring in a medium, but when I started originally as a paranormal investigator as I was going through mediumship and you know as a student in mediumship, and as time went on, I started realizing that I don't need these toys. I don't need all these gadgets and gizmos. All these other people in the field here are just, like waiting for the lights to flicker and asking questions. And at
Yeah.
the end of the whole thing, it was like, I still have all the toys, but I haven't used them since. I'll just walk into the
Hmm.
situation, sit down, meditate, bring in the energy, raise the vibration, and start talking.
Yeah, that I actually had my first situation just a few weeks ago. I had a local girl contact me and she really felt like her house was haunted and kind of wanted to know what was happening. And I really felt like she was a medium and almost just needing to kind of set some boundaries and like get some serious with like who was allowed to step in and not just. And I don't know if you've experienced this too, but I know that when my abilities, like when I first really started tuning in, I realized that I had like everybody come, like I had spirits around me 24/7. It just was kind of exhausting, but I feel like that happens almost for you to learn to set up boundaries and say, I'm okay with this happening, not at this time, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so I went to her house and did this, which was, I'd never done an investigation ever. I've only really watched that on TV.
Yeah.
But it was so much like it just happened naturally. I didn't have to have tools. I could tell it was happening and see and pass all that stuff on to her, which I think gave her a big peace of mind because people, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, is that I think so much of like the TV and what's, cinematics, all of that stuff, it really kind of teaches us to fear spirit. But I think
Hmm.
so many more of the spirits that are around us are truly there because we have some kind of a bond of love or something. And it's not really meant to be feared. Like you're allowed to tune in or out of whatever you want to be around you.
Yeah.
And so just trying to kind of help teach her that. Um, but it was an interesting experience for sure.
Yeah. Hollywood and the media in general, television, all these shows out are definitely made to put the fear into the spirit world. I mean, every ghost
Yeah.
movie out there is either either falls in the genre of horror
Hmm.
or a suspense thriller,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it shouldn't be. I mean, there are a couple movies out there, related to spirit, but very rarely you're not gonna. Well, I think even the movie Ghost, when that first came out, I think it was originally a suspense thriller,
Hmm.
and now it's considered a love story. So,
Yeah.
so
I was just thinking of the ghost, but yeah, remember those there's those other spirits that like try to come in, and I don't even remember. It's been so many years since I've watched that movie, but yeah, it was, I remember too when I first watched that of being like a little bit scared of like I don't remember. There's some other people I think that died like tragically or something that were like trying to come in while she was connecting with him. I
yeah,
don't remember.
yeah,
But yeah, it
huh,
just, I think it instills so much fear in people. And I mean, I think that's something too that you kind of have to overcome when you're developing and learning to tune in and choosing who you allow around you, that kind of thing.
yeah.
So,
Now
but I
the
have maybe a different view on, I don't know, heaven and hell. I don't know that, and you might agree or not, but I don't know that I necessarily believe in hell. I think our spirits like choose to, I think the majority of our spirits, even if we do bad things here on earth, like can go to heaven. They just
mhm,
have more learning to do.
yeah. I've got
I don't know.
a little bit of what I have think about hell in general
Hmm.
is earth is hell. The life
Oh yeah.
the
Yes.
earthbound living is hell.
Hmm.
This is our
100%
yeah.
agree.
You're if
Yeah.
you're in body, you're in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the place that we should fear humans,
Yeah.
the wars and the evil
hmm
people and that kind of thing. I agree.
Yeah. Now, as far as the hell on the other side is not necessarily, I don't say it doesn't exist, but it's misconceived
Hmm.
that there's many different spheres out there. Like God said, um, He has many mansions. And those mansions are places. There's dimensions, there's different vibrations, there's different frequencies. Depending on your karmic energy and after leaving body and going over to the other side, you may not be going the same place your neighbor went to when he passed away or another
Hmm.
family member. Maybe not exactly. You're kind of existing in this frequency, this vibration, this karmic energy vibration that you left with when
Hmm.
you left the body.
Yeah.
And you're kind of revisiting everything that you experienced in life. Now I've heard this too. It's like it's not God that's going to judge you. What's really interesting is, and I felt this through some meditative experiences, that
Is
when we
yourself is
yeah,
that.
we when we pass
Yeah.
over, it's not God that's judging us, it's us that's judging us. That we
Hmm.
look at ourselves outside of ourselves in the spirit form, and we look at what we did
Yeah.
to everybody, the good things, the bad things, and we see that and feel that, and that's what makes the biggest impact as far as teaching us the lesson of don't do
On
that
your
again.
soul. Yeah. It's just
Yeah. And
learning of,
yeah.
yeah, like how you could have been better, what you could have done. And I think a lot of that too is like it is like seeing in how we have interacted with others, but I think so much of it too, because I've read a lot of like near death experience books, and they say so much is like when you start crossing over, it's just such a like tremendous amount of love and uh really kind of like the understanding of like all of the stuff that we put ourselves through here on earth, like the judgment and anxiety and just all of that. Like it's just you have such a realization of like, God, I wish I would have done everything that I
Yeah.
had the chance to do, or like not judging myself so hard, like a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Allowed myself to live a freer life, or whatever lessons that you kind of went through, but a lot of it is like internal looking at yourself. Yeah, so judgment, I agree. I think it's a self
Yeah. A self judgment.
judgment or something
Yeah. Yeah.
that we experience.
Yeah. Now, working in the healthcare industry, you work in a
Yeah.
hospital and hospice, or in what which area do you work in?
So I am a dialysis nurse. So I work with patients that have kidney failure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was like one way too, is that I realized how much like psychic energy I think I was like coming into contact with, because I would go to work and my patients are quite sickly and don't feel very well, and I would leave work and I would just be so drained and exhausted. Like I think I was just picking up so much of that energy.
Yeah.
And like once you kind of learn that you are in control of your own energy and can like uplift or cleanse or whatever you do it, whatever it is that you do that like makes yourself feel better, even if it's just like getting outside and putting your feet on the ground, like um just learning that you're in control of that, like it helps you to learn too, like how to connect and disconnect with spirit a lot better.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just much more tied together.
Have you now being in the workplace? Because
Hmm.
even when I go to work, I mean, there's times when I go to work when someone asks me, and very few people know what I do. Um,
Oh, really?
there's only like maybe a handful of people that have
Okay.
known me for like 10 plus years, but
Yeah.
very few in general know what I do. And the the interesting thing is, those who do know, every now and then, it doesn't happen often, but someone will be like, "Hey, can you give me a reading?" Or
Yeah.
can you like maybe give me some insight on something? And I'm going, this is not the place for it.
Yeah.
I cannot
Yes.
get in the zone, especially at work, because it's a very fast-paced field, and it's just something. Have you noticed this in your workplace where it's hard to, unless it happens and it's supposed to happen and you're picking up on something and spirit just jumps in and says, hey, I got some information to deliver, and that it. But has anybody in the field, in your workplace, caught you off guard to say, hey, can you give me a reading?
Actually, yeah, I have had quite a few people ask me, but here's the thing, because I am a nurse and a clinical manager, so like the people that have come to ask me like are, I guess, would report to me. I almost felt like, and I just made the change and the decision to kind of step down out of my management position, which will be effective like late August. So I can just be a floor nurse part-time again and then do readings the rest of the time. But I felt like a conflict of interest almost. Like it feels weird as your boss, like give you a reading.
Yeah.
And I felt that pressure. I don't know why, if that was just like pressure from myself or what, but yeah, I have had a lot of people that just say like, until I'm like not your boss, I don't know that I feel comfortable. I don't know. It just,
Yeah.
I felt like I think I would be like doing work or like have some kind of a conflict of interest or something.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful to be like stepping out of this position, because I feel like being a medium is so much more like, I don't know what I'm feel soulfully aligned to do. And I'm just excited to be like a floor nurse and like one of everybody else, where I don't have to be professional all the time. You know what I mean? Professional, but not professional.
Yeah, you don't have to feel like you're in the administrative role.
Boundary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have had quite a few people ask me for readings. So
now, has it been challenging a little bit especially when it comes to working in the healthcare industry, and if you're, I wouldn't say necessarily delivering a message, but because mediumship and the most questions from clients when it comes to mediumship or anything like that is, it's always a health issue. Someone's always asking about how their health is going to turn out. Now, working in the healthcare industry, I'm sure, has there been any times where it's like, oh crap, I don't know how much I should say because I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose anything, but I'm picking up something from spirit that's telling me to tell you this. Have you had any experiences of having to deliver that type of information, but being very careful?
Yes, actually, I remember having one of my mentors tell me about this. Like, just be sure that you deliver it with like extreme caution, and always include like, I'm not a physician. This information is not coming through to scare you at all. It's only to kind of help you in a preventative way, or so you can actually seek some medical care. And so like, I think I even have like a little disclosure on my page about this, but I have had quite a few instances come through where I know something is going on with the person I'm reading for. And the very first time it happened, I know I was connecting this lady with her granddaughter, and I could tell something was going on with her head, but I didn't really feel comfortable saying it. And I could also see like the caution sign. So I knew that there was something here going on that, like, I don't know, felt more urgent.
Yeah.
But I didn't say it. I had a small conversation with her to say, hey, kind of picking up something. Have you had experiences? Like, did you have anything going on with your head? And I remember she told me she had some kind of, I think like a seizure condition or something. And anyways, went to bed that night, woke up in the middle of the night, and I could hear this little girl's voice. And I knew very well, because I was seeing like the caution symbol again. I was being drawn to this lady. I messaged her the next day. Just said, hey, I'm kind of feeling like maybe you should go to the doctor, have this checked out, be sure you don't skip out on, following up on this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then she messaged me just a couple of weeks later and said, oh my gosh, like I had like a severe seizure, ended up in the hospital, had to have like stents placed in my brain. And, it was quite, I don't know, it was eye-opening for me, and the fact that like I felt like I shouldn't hold back on that information, even if other people don't see it as appropriate to pass on, because I feel like spirit's smarter than we are and knows much more than I think we here in the physical allow. I don't know. And two, I want to say so I've been a nurse for, I don't even know, 11 years now. And was in nurse practitioner school. So I feel like I have a pretty good database of like health related information for them to pull from.
Yeah.
And so like I just try to include that like disclaimer of like, this is not meant to scare you. I'm not a doctor, but if it comes through, I do feel like there's a reason, and had quite a few people come back and validate that everything that was coming through was, you know, something that was real, and it was validated by them after. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's kind of a touchy subject. But I know a lot of mediums that have actually, even people that don't have healthcare background, you know, had to bring that kind of information through in a reading.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
just kind of blows your mind of like, how do they have all of this knowledge of like things that could be happening that we're not even aware of, you know?
yeah, it's the yeah, because there's a couple of friends of mine too that do you know, medical mediumship and stuff, and it's like, well, be careful of how you title it, because if you're not a doctor, I don't think you should put medical anywhere in your
Yeah.
title. Um,
Yeah.
unless you have a not a PhD, but an MD somewhere. Somewhere, if you have an MD designation in your name, then you can put medical anywhere in any title and stuff like that. But other than that,
Yeah.
just yeah. But as
I
a
do.
nurse too, and working in the medical field, you can at least say, hey, I do have some medical background, so I might be able to give you some details. But other than that, I can't diagnose.
Yeah, and just be sure to tell them like, hey, I think this is something you should look into. Like it gets worth a doctor visit, and kind of try to point them in the right direction
Yeah.
too, I think is important. And
Especially if you pick up like during the message, if you're asking the client, like, you know, have you been experiencing, you know, like if I'm like doing a reading and I'm like suddenly come down with a headache or come down with a chest something, or, you know, something hurting in the body, you know, I'll ask the client going, you know, I'm starting to get a headache or this or that or something. And, you know, it's
so
like,
have you had to pass that kind of information on as well?
I
Or
did pass something on to it was something with, it was a medical thing, and I was picking something up from a friend of mine over the phone. This was a couple years ago. And this is before, I think this is before she went through the further cancer screenings. But
okay.
I was picking something up for her to get a second opinion. I was like, I would, you know, I'm being told from spirit, seek other opinions and go, you know, go to this facility or that facility, because I'm feeling you might get better results. And I think they ended up doing it. I forget what hospital. It was like is it Shands Hospital or something? Or the Mayo Clinic. I think it may have been the Mayo Clinic. I'm not sure. It's happened so long ago, and with so many readings, I couldn't even remember who it was.
I know, you get like reading amnesia almost sometimes.
Yeah. And yeah, that now when you're doing readings and you're giving readings and stuff, you notice that a lot too, is like after you're done, everything just disappears. Most of it you don't even remember.
Yeah, I've had quite a few people come back and you know, for like a second or third reading, and I can remember the face or like part of the name, but I don't remember who they're trying to connect to. It's like a very very tiny amount of people I remember anything about their spirit person.
Yeah.
So something cool that I just noticed, like I want to say in the last like week that I've had happen, is I will actually start to have like a really good visual picture of like at least one of the people that are coming through for the reading ahead of time. And so I kind of just get like a little pencil and like sketch a little and I'm horrible at drawing. I don't know how this even happened.
Yeah.
But just kind of trying to like sketch a little picture of one of the people. That way they can have that to say like, hey, this lady is here for you, or you know, whatever, just ahead of time. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah. I think
Have a
I've
little
had that
twist sometimes.
there's something that happens. See if this happens to you. There's times where it's either around the time that I'm getting ready to lay down for bed, or if I'm sitting on the
Mhm.
couch somewhere and I close my eyes. And as soon as I close my eyes, I see somebody. I see a
Yes.
face, and it's very clear. And I'm looking, and
Yeah.
the person's face gets closer and closer and closer, and it goes from like straight on profile to like side, and then their face just morphs away.
Yeah. I often wonder, like, who are you for? Are you
Yep.
just like a spirit passing by? Like I have had that so many times, and I don't know, like, is this going to be someone that comes up in a reading, like in the next week or two, or like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
completely,
yeah, and there's times too. It's like I ask, in my mind, I'm going, "Who are you? Like, what's your name? Who are you? I don't know. I think they just pass by. They just
yeah.
decide to pass by, and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm just going through, and yeah, it's just very unusual.
That's, something I love because it's such a like shift in consciousness. I think when you like start tuning into like everything spiritual, it just you're taken out of like the left thinking brain, which I feel like I was so much for like a huge big part of my life. It's just really like science based. Like almost a master's in science, a nurse,
Hmm.
all of that. But like also if there's so many studies going on around that and like the metaphysical and how like your thoughts create molecules and that can affect like your energy field and all of that. But the something that I love, and I don't know why, I think it's just because I have so many experiences in this state, but like, if you're setting in the evening, how you were saying, and you relax, or you're kind of starting to fall asleep and your brain kind of drifts into like the theta waves, like
Yeah.
that's when you really kind of start receiving information. And as a medium, I think we're kind of almost able to, and I don't know if I wonder if it's from like having meditated, that it's easier to kind of switch your brain into that. And that's how you kind of start receiving that information or what. I don't know. But it's really neat that they can, like, I've seen that they even do like studies where they put like electrodes on mediums' brains when they're doing readings. And they're like, whoa, she's in a completely different brainwave state now. And, can like see that on camera
Yeah. Yeah.
or like on a video and kind of scientifically explain what's happening when you go into that reading mode.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
really cool.
have you also noticed that as far as mediumship and attuning yourself before, you have a habit of before you're doing a reading, just if you're driving to it, you're meditate. Well, I wouldn't say meditate in a car, but take a moment, take 5-10 minutes, beforehand, before sitting down with the client, do the meditation, clearing it, and then doing it. Because I know people who could just really quick, just
I don't
immediately
so
deliver.
much anymore. I actually don't really meditate that often. Every now and then I'll say, okay, guys, I'm going to go like meditate for like 10 minutes.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think I close the door and maybe do for like two. I get such monkey brain
Yeah, yeah,
these days. So I don't know. I feel like it's something I would benefit from because I know it's such a huge stress reliever, but I don't necessarily need to do that anymore for some reason. I don't know why.
yeah. I think the more often, especially going through a student mediumship program, which can be anywhere from a year to a couple years, depending on how much time a person needs, is
Mhm.
meditation is usually that very first thing you start to learn how to do. And then during every class, you're doing it all the time, and you're doing it so often to the point where what I think it is, wow, it's not what I think it is. I think I asked about this, and they're like, yep, that's exactly what it is. It's the conditioning. Now, at first, if like you're first coming in as a student medium,
Oh,
and you
I see
start
what you're saying.
meditating, it could take forever.
Mhm.
It could take forever. 30 minutes, half hour, you know, to walk away from
To
the
get to that
self.
place.
Yeah, to walk
Yeah.
away from the self and get to that vibration to deliver a message for somebody else in the room. I
Yeah.
think the point of all this meditation is to condition your mind to where instead of doing it for 30 minutes, all you got to do is do it for less than a minute, and boom, you're in that frequency, and then you can start delivering the messages.
Yeah. That it is. I think it is kind of a conditioning. That's like I never really thought of it like that, but I think I have done so many readings that I now it's kind of like I just tune in or something. It's kind of hard to explain, but like switch my mode of my brain or something,
Yeah.
like it kind of becomes like a natural secondary
Yeah.
thing.
Have you ever gotten this radio frequency thing where either the left side or the right ear will start to, you'll lose your hearing in one ear, and then it'll this really high pitched sound like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? Like someone's tuning in a
Like
radio.
ringing or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I have. I had that a lot, I think, during like early development. And every now and then I will, but I almost wonder too if that's just like spirit, just like way up in your energy field,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, it's their attunement. It's we're I think who said that originally? I can't remember her name. I got a couple of her books. She's since passed a few years ago.
Medium or
Yeah,
psychic?
Medium. She was she used to be on, was it Montel Williams? I think it was Montel Williams. I'm not, she used to have,
Like
she didn't have her
Sylvia
own show,
Brown.
but she used to be on somebody else's show all the time. Um,
Lisa Williams.
no, can't remember. I can't believe it. But
I think I'm more. I can think of more like male mediums. I think that
yeah,
kind of set like it made way and like media, like media and like kind of coming out and paving the way for like other mediums.
Sylvia Brown.
Sylvia Brown, yeah.
Yes, I remember when
Okay.
she said that. I still have a recording of her on something she said, and she goes, well, when we have that high pitched sound in either the left or the
Yeah.
right ear, what's happening is it's spirit attuning you. Is that they're getting, and it doesn't have to be before a reading. It could be anytime, random. I mean, you could be driving down a road and suddenly you lose your hearing in one ear, and everything, it just sounds like a radio being attuned. It's really high pitched, and then it slowly goes away. That
Yeah.
Sylvia
Yep.
Brown
I've
said
had
it
that
was like an
happen for sure.
attunement. What they're trying to do is they're trying to balance this frequency and the wavelength to where they're able to communicate and give you information, because at that point in time the Earth's atmosphere is being really thick. It's crappy. There's so much stuff going on. There's so much energy. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to complete the bridge. And that's
Okay.
them completing the bridge.
Yeah, no, I agree with that attuning because I noticed, like I said, a lot in my development when I was doing practice readings and that, like I would notice a lot, especially if I had downtime, like I was just kind of hanging out, like I would notice that like ringing in my ears, which I don't get too often anymore. But sometimes if I do and it's loud, I feel like it's either like a shout out for me to like pay attention to like what I'm thinking, or like it just feel like spirit is like super close.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Also too, and I haven't really read too much about it, but like, have you heard of the Schumann resonance? Is
Oh
that what
yeah,
it is?
the Schumann resonance. Yeah.
Just like, and you feel that too, like I think once too you become more sensitive to spirit, you're just more sensitive to everything. But like some days you wake up and you just like feel like some stuff is off, and then some days you wake up and everything is great. But I think a lot of times like the collective energy
Yeah.
impacts things too. So
Even the Earth's electromagnetic field, they've noticed that during large amounts of meditative states or crowds of people meditating with, for a very specific goal or a very specific
can
emotion, it
yeah.
it can change that the Schumann resonance field and the Earth's electromagnetic energy. Something will
Oh,
happen. Yeah.
absolutely.
And then all these random
Definitely
number
happen.
generators will start going off. So, yeah.
That too, why, and I don't know why I'm thinking this again, but why I think one reason I do feel like it's kind of I don't know, like I think I feel comfortable with passing on like health related information to people is because I think so much of like our thoughts are, and I don't know how, if like you do this at all, but like when I'm tuning into somebody at first, if they're doing like a psychic reading, I see like their energy and colors and correlate that to like chakras
Mm-hmm.
and like certain emotions or things that they're going through. And I think over time, those can like cause physical sickness or illness. And like sometimes unresolved can even cause like disease and that kind of thing. And so I think sometimes it's so much, I don't know, energetically, so much more related than just somebody getting sick out of the blue. Although I think sometimes some stuff is completely unknown and unexplained.
Yeah.
I think there's so much of a correlation with spirit and energy and people's emotions that kind of need healed or addressed or something like that.
Yeah. There's times too,
So
like it wouldn't be necessarily a reading, but I'll just get like this weird impression on something or for somebody or with somebody. And it's got to be like the right time and the right place, because I just can't,
yeah,
go up and say, hey, maybe you should try that or try this or take a look at this or quit drinking so much soda,
yeah,
and but there's times where I think most of the work I do now is channeling. Instead of just doing readings, I'll channel and start get into a trance state. And I started doing that more often than just readings. I think spirit's got more of a more of a thing to for me to work on. But have you noticed any changes in your mediumship and the work that you do? Have you seen that
I
there's some other modalities out there waiting for you?
I definitely, I mean, I'm open to a lot. I think once you kind of like start tuning into like the spiritual side of things, like it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of opens up like a whole new door to everything. But I often wonder, sometimes it's very clear cut, like when we're talking about clairs, like you hear, see, feel, know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes I'm like, where do I get this information from? Like, I really don't know, but it seems to be absolutely spot on. And like, I think a lot of mediums are kind of channels. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's like part of that and like
Yeah.
tuning to like spirit and higher beings and knowledge and all of that.
Yeah.
So I definitely do think so. I just don't know that I haven't ever really, I don't know, looked into developing it more, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes I have like just taken a pen and like asked a question and will like write. And I'm like, some of the words sometimes that come to me are not within my knowledge base that I am aware of now. Like I will hear
Yeah.
words in sometimes different languages, or like have to Google it because I'm like, I remember even before my mediumship development days where I would have like words come to me and I was like, gosh, I'm smart, and not like I didn't even know where it was coming from. But now I'm like, I know that that's not coming from me because I don't talk like that. Like I'm
Yeah.
definitely not that sophisticated type thing.
Yeah.
And like know that I'm getting that from like guides and a higher spirit trying to help me, on my path.
Yeah. Has spirit come to you to deliver information without somebody in the living? In other words, unsolicited, meaning that spirit came to you to give a message to somebody in the living rather than the other way around. In other words,
Um,
I'll give you a scenario on
yeah,
what happened to me.
yeah.
When I was doing work in Shanghai, I left the States and moved to Shanghai, China for about a year
Oh, so cool.
for work on a job. And while I was over there, obviously I don't know anybody. I mean,
Yeah,
I've never been to this country before. I don't know anybody here except for the people that I directly work with. So
yeah.
we're out and about, we're in a restaurant, and I'm sitting at the table, and suddenly I have this. I Somebody says it. They saw me just weird, like blackout, just for like a couple seconds. Like
Uh-huh.
looked into space, and my eyes were like kind of, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I guess it was only a couple seconds. It felt like a while, but this old lady, old Chinese lady, came to me in spirit to deliver a message. I saw her like she was standing in front of me, and she was holding this book and so and now, who's this message for? Who was this woman? Why? I didn't know who she was, but I had a message to deliver. But it's like, who? I mean, I'm in a restaurant.
Yeah.
If this message for somebody, who knows the message for? So, I asked. I didn't. It just came. It was like it's for the server. So it ended up being the server's grandmother. And she had just it was her grandmother had just recently passed away. Like it must have been pretty recent. And now trying to deliver that message to somebody in a completely different country, you don't know if doing stuff like that's taboo or can get you arrested. So I didn't know. I was like, well, so I tell a friend of mine at the table, I'm going, you won't believe this. And he goes, he's like, so I tell him, and he's like, go do it, man. I'm like, come on. I'm like, I'm just as scared as anybody would be. It's like you're asking somebody if you want to go on a date, for Christ's sake. It's like, nah. So she comes to the table with the check, and she's giving the checks out. And I tell her, I was like, luckily she understood English. So I told her who I was, what I do, and if she understood, and if if she would give me the permission to give her the message.
Yeah.
Did that, and I delivered the message, and her eyes just lit up like light bulbs. Wow. She walked away, and I was like, oh man. I'm like, well, I wonder if I'm like, I don't know if she received that well or whatnot, but we all got up from the table, and as we were leaving, I was just about ready to go out the door, and she stops me and she thanked me. She was in tears, and she's like, "Thank you." And it ended up, I guess it was the truth, but apparently, what the message was is that her grandmother had passed away, but before she had passed away for quite some time, she's been trying to get her to go back to school. Go back to school, get an education, go to college, and do it now. Don't waste time. So.
Yeah, that is so cool. I have had, I don't even know, not too many situations like that too, but also a girl. I know that like mom was around and was like picking up name and how she had passed and all of that. And too, the same thing, this girl was like just in tears. And so at that point, you're like, I don't know, is she okay? Like it just, it makes you think twice about like how you deliver and making sure that you approach people like the right way. Like, are you okay if I give you this message? And
yeah.
So yeah, I try to tell spirit too, like if you want this person to like get this message, like make sure that it's like if spirit shows up that they're going to be somebody that's okay with getting a message, or have them come to me and set up a reading.
Yeah, and I tell you, yeah, there's no two readings the same, and having to come into either doing an off the cuff reading like somebody you don't know, or like in a situation like the restaurant or a grocery store, or just something just happens to where it's like you're meant to deliver a message, but you have to deliver it with some discernment, because it's like first you're trying to read the energy of the person you're about to just tap on the shoulder and say, hey, excuse me. Read their energy first and go, okay, is this person going to receive this well? But I mean, if it's a message from spirit from somebody on, from their side, from their past, and I I don't know. You would think the spirit wouldn't have done anything
Yeah.
if it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I
So
agree. I think they definitely know who. I've never had that happen where somebody's just completely been like, no, I'm not okay with this,
yeah,
So I definitely think they have a higher knowing of like, is it okay if I step in and you give this person a message or not? So
yeah.
yeah.
So how many I don't expect anybody to keep track of numbers and stuff like that, but how many messages have you done so far?
Yikes. Um, I don't, to be honest, I don't know. I know that I took develop, like I said, in circle with, a couple of groups, I would say for, I don't know if those would even count, probably like a year and a half-ish.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, I know that I did, and I did count these. Like I did 100 on my own before. I was like, I'm going to do this to make sure that I'm, getting everything right before I actually start
Yeah.
like my mediumship business. And then I don't even know, hundreds or thousand probably.
Wow.
Definitely not thousands. Would definitely consider myself a newer medium,
Yeah.
compared to some, but
Huh.
enough
So I've got
where I think I've.
yeah. I have your website scrolling on the bottom of the page here. So it's if anybody wanted to reach out to you, they could book a reading. How did you deliver the readings?
Usually, well, I do offer in Zoom, obviously, if people are local, or sorry, in person if people are local. But
Hmm.
the majority I do through Zoom. Sometimes we'll do through phone. It all kind of works the same way.
Yeah.
Spirit people show up. It's energetics, no matter what way they choose to
Yeah.
book a reading. So,
Definitely don't use wave video because
oh
we've
yeah,
had too many issues
I
with
know.
that already.
I don't know. Maybe it's just a Colorado thing. Maybe it's local. I don't know. Maybe it's like our
Yeah.
internet servers together or
It's
something. I'm
gotta
not
be.
sure.
Yeah, it's gotta be the net. There's gotta be some weird glitch with the how the network is connected between Florida and Colorado. So
Yeah,
uh,
something. But yeah, I
yeah,
don't usually have connection issues. It's been like very few times I've had to reschedule, but then the reschedule always works. So
yeah, yeah. So your website. So people want to go to your website. I have it scrolling on the bottom here. Let me see. So it's Sarah Janik JANIK.com,
yes.
and they can book with you through your website.
Hmm.
And you're also on Instagram. I'll put that up on the screen too here. It's at Sarah Janik, JANIK, Medium, MEDIUM.
Yes.
And then it can contact you any of those places there. Um,
Yeah,
but so
absolutely.
there's are there a lot of do you have like shows that you go to? Is there any expos and fairs that you normally go to
I
in the
do try to
Colorado area?
do I do try to do some local events. Usually I'm trying to think of like through Blue Alyssa, or I can't even think of the other one, but usually like at just local event centers here in northern Colorado or
Yeah.
Denver. So,
Mm,
and I usually post about that on some of my social media.
yeah,
So,
that's cool. So what's coming up in the near future? You have any travel plans with this work or a book,
I would
any
love
book
that
or
is
medium? Yeah.
yeah, no, that is my ultimate goal. Is I would love to do. I've done a few group readings here lately, and would just love to do more like in-person group events. So that's definitely like my ultimate goal. I think you can reach so many more people that way, right? Even if you're not tuning into this one specific person's loved one. I feel like a lot of people can receive messages through that in group readings.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't have any. I think I'm going to sign up for the local fair in Loveland coming, I think it's like in September. Um, but yeah, just I hope to travel someday and do more like group bigger events and reach people outside of Colorado. So
Yeah. And maybe doing we may have to test this again in the near future to get on our live show on Monday nights. Because Monday nights we can take calls and stuff
Yes, that would
and
be
stuff.
so fun. I'd love to.
Or I mean, if if we're stuck having to do the cell phone, the phone thing and stuff like that, we still do the phone. It'll be on a separate line and stuff like that. But take calls and doing readings over the air. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Have you ever done a piggyback reading where like say you were to like tune into somebody and then like I would try to tune into to get like the same connection but like different information?
yeah, I did that. I did that a couple times. I think I did it once on the show
Okay.
with Jerry McDaniel, a local author and medium. He was picking up something, and then the caller had called in, and I picked up something as well, and I piggybacked off of that. I was like, and then I shared that information. I also remember doing it during a, a group reading.
Mm-hmm.
That the medium that was delivering the group messages and stuff like that. And then I ended up getting a message as well for the person that she was reading for.
So cool. I love that. I don't know why I'm thinking of that, so maybe there's like a reason. Just saying.
Yeah. And it becomes the reading becomes more powerful and more influential because now you're connecting. You got this this trio going on.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, I love
picking
that.
up
I've
on
done
the
it a handful
collective.
of times.
Yeah. Those are fun.
But
Those are fun.
yeah, I'm thinking maybe if I do go on your show, there might be some kind of happening like that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
There,
But
there's also there's a mother and daughter in the area. I'm not sure since you're in Colorado. I'm not sure if you've heard of Casadega. You've got
I
Lily
haven't.
Dale up in New York, which is where the
Oh,
modern
yes.
spiritualism started, and
Yeah,
then
I want to go there.
yeah, and then
Hmm.
Casadega is actually the sister organization that back in the day, couple hundred years ago, um, it was so cold in the wintertime for people to go to Lilydale. I mean, it'd be snowed out. It's nothing happening. So they decided to,
Hmm.
they were looking for a winter camp, somewhere to travel, somewhere to go in the wintertime to get out of that weather so they can still do their mediumship work every day of the year.
Yeah.
So they
So cool.
seeked out a place here in Florida and they called it Casadega. And it's basically a mediumship community, spiritualist mediumship community. And there's this mother daughter that that do work there, and they'll both go up on stage and they'll piggyback off of each other and do group readings.
Love that. So
Yeah.
cool. I think that might be more of my alley too. I'm not into like, even though I live in Colorado, I love the sunshine and
Mm-hmm.
just the warmer weather. So I think Florida would be more of my alley. But
Yep. There's a lot of
just
people moving
to
here.
experience the history, I think would be so cool too
Yeah.
up in Lilydale. So
Yeah. 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 Well, that did not. That's an hour. Do you believe that we've been on there for an hour?
that was fast.
But we got it out of the
Really,
way.
yeah.
I
Yay.
think we pushed this. I think this is like the third time. The first two
I
times
think
we
so.
something happened. The first time, I don't even remember. Second time is like, well, we're not even getting a good connection.
Friday night, I don't know what we were doing. I think we ended up going out to dinner or something. And then I was like, oh no, I was supposed to meet with him tonight. So
Like I said, yeah, I just put it in there as a placeholder, but then having Sunday as the official, I was like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. So, but
yeah.
but
Well, awesome. Thank you for
yeah,
having me on. It was
you are
fun.
very welcome, and
I
yeah,
love
I'll
connecting with other mediums always.
yeah,
So
and but yeah, keep me posted on your work, and
okay.
I will send you all the information for the broadcast of the show as we get well, like I said, it's going to be September 9th. Yeah, September 9th. So
Okay.
but yeah, send out
Awesome.
all the information, give you all the information for your promotional stuff and marketing and stuff like that. So, but
Awesome. Sounds good.
other than that, it was a pleasure having you on. And
Yes.
yeah, cool. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Well, you were very welcome. And for those who are watching and listening, thank you for tuning in to Conscious Radio Network. And until the next Unlocking the Universe, y'all have a good evening, good night, and good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.